So I was in a corporate world for 32 years.
Wow.
It's really scary, right? I mean, you do the math, right? It's just like, and across my entire life, I always came up with ideas. You should see my office. I have like posters everywhere, and I have just ideas up and down and notebooks with it. And my last boss was always saying, because I always would come to him and give him something ideas.
New.
And I was like an insurance agent. He would throw me out of the door. I would come back through the window, and then I would go into another door. He would throw me out.
Love it.
And he always said, Andrea, you really need to start your own business, right? His name is Gowring, and he always said, you have to start your own business.
That encouragement, though.
No, he was saying this is not a space for you. He was very open. But of course, you have kids, you have school fees, you have mortgages. So it's on your back of your hand. You have an excuse for not doing
it. There's always an excuse.
And now I'm in it, and it is metrics, roller coaster, scary, and but it's amazing.
Yeah. Let's talk DXB. Real conversations by real people. Andrea, we are here with Let's Talk DXB finally. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I just feel that we did already the entire discussion before we even started. Unfortunately, the cameras were not on, but I'm so delighted to be here with you today.
Thank you. There's so much to unpack. So we spoke last year, May. Time has flown. And that conversation was a podcast in itself, just learning more about you, your journey, your bravery, your curiosity. There's so many layers.
I think you should start to record your prep calls, and then you can use the prep calls as podcast itself,
Yeah, you're such an interesting woman. I was like, we will get here, and we're here at the right time because you are in a new chapter of something so exciting that I can't wait to hear more about. So before we go into the detail, I always like to learn about the person in front of me. Obviously, I do my own research, but for the viewers, I listened to your TEDx talk, which I found very interesting. And you talked about, as a child, I was very spoiled. We had a house, we had a fridge, and we had a car. What more did you need? So I was like, that mindset of gratitude from quite a young age, I found really interesting. So tell me a bit more about you, your upbringing, and then we'll go into all the great stuff.
So first of all, thank you for watching my TEDx. It actually took me a really long time to watch it myself. I was so scared, it's a really interesting experience because you have to practice, right? And do the dry runs. And then when you don't want to watch it actually, because, so thank you for watching it.
It was great, yeah.
And yeah, I really feel that, you don't really need much, right? And I had the privilege and the curse to grow up during a communist time in Czechoslovakia. So I was born 1973. So the change came when I was about 14, 15. Wow. And Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia at that time was, quite advanced in comparison to maybe Bulgaria, Romania. And we had a happy household and we didn't have 5 yogurts in the supermarket, but just one with marmalade and white. So your choices were very limited. So, but I feel that, it was awesome to grow up like this. I mean, I'm sure many people went through so many struggles, but I personally had a really great way. My parents, were always encouraging me to do new things, and I felt I'm pretty spoiled because I had the fridge and we had a car and we had a house, and really you didn't need it more. And I think that what I liked about my upbringing was, my dad always pushed me to everything. And I think that's maybe why I'm here today, right? Because I still have on back of my head that I still have to prove to him. It's just like crazy, right? I mean, we are like 2 old people now, that I can make it and I can do new stuff. So no, I want to demystify the fact that, everything during the communist time was bad. My childhood was super cool. We did a lot of sport. The only thing which we couldn't was travel, right?
Yes,
I think that was, and there were some, anecdotes like when my dad, he used to be an ice hockey player. Yes. So when he would travel to Germany, for example, they would smuggle DMR, they do holes in the sticks and they put the DMR inside. And then for us to buy shoes, he would draw on a paper like our feet and then bring shoes, but then we were not allowed to wear them, right? Because there was a lot of, they call it the shadow police. So if people came from abroad, we wouldn't wait 2 or 3 months before we would wear something new, because we knew that somebody was watching us, and if somebody would see you in new shoes, they would know that my dad smuggled out money, which was very hard as you are a young kid and your dad brings you like jeans.
You want to wear them.
You want to wear the jeans,
Yes.
right? So when I look at it, maybe at that, somebody would think, oh my God, that's really horrible. But I think you adjust, and I had a very protective childhood, and despite the fact growing up there, I learned English, I learned German, I used to speak really well Russian, don't do anymore, and that was all under the system. So I had the great time.
I love the mindset as well. And it's interesting, you connected to your father in terms of like that limitless mindset and wanting to prove to him, even now, right?
Yeah,
that you're doing great, which you are doing great things. It always connects to the childhood. That's why I wanted to find out a bit more about you. But let's start on the mindset then, because you definitely have a limitless mindset. I think your curiosity is very interesting. And can I say embracing fear or accepting fear to a degree? Because it's always there. It doesn't disappear, right? It's what you do with it as well. So how has that helped you?
I think that let's maybe start with curiosity, right? I think that's, let's start on the positive side, right? Everything you put in front of me, I am so curious. It's just, one of my business partners, Doha, she always said, I said, so horrible in my brain. And she said, how do you think it feels for us, Because
trying to interpret the brain and listening to you.
I have so many different things. And I learned very early that, you shouldn't fear anything, right? Because of course, it's so uncomfortable to start new things. It is, we were just talking about, some of the tools to explore. But in the book, Tools of Titans, Tim Ferriss, I'm a big fan of his. He had an interview with, what was this gentleman's name? I forgot his name, but it's okay. And he asked him, what is on the other side of fear? And he said, nothing. And it really resonated with me. And I always need to remind myself to say, what is on the other side? If you do it, what can happen to you? Why are you afraid? And I think that curiosity is really important. And, my first job was actually a waitress because, I didn't want my parents to be involved in my life. So I said, I am not going to university.
Independence.
Very independent. So my first job was to be a waitress. Right. And by coincidence, where a friend of mine, I spoke very well German, said, she was a hairdresser. She said, I was just making hair to a lady and they're looking for people who speak German for a banking branch, which they will open in my hometown.
Right.
And so you should go. So I said, okay. So I went and I, passed the process. There were 150 applicants. They took 5. I was one of the 5. But it was just a coincidence.
Just a coincidence.
So I ended up in banking by having a friend who is a hairdresser. I think that's,
See how life just works? Sometimes you over worry for no reason.
And I never wanted, I thought that, the payments and banking are super boring. And people look boring, right? They always dress the same.
Gray
and dull, everything is very dull. And I really liked it. I think that I started to embrace every single thing which I did. And I started in a branch. I said, okay, I want to be a branch manager. Then I became a branch manager. Then I wanted to be a head of retail. So I became a head of retail. And, like with the boring branches, one of the projects I did was like a model branch concept for Eastern Europe, right? Cool. And we didn't have any... you didn't need to queue. It was like a hotel, so you had a meet and greet, and it was all yellow actually. And I think that I always try to infuse new things. And so I started in payments, end up in designing branches and creating manuals for furniture for the branches to, doing coding. So I think, and when I think about it now, I think one of the drivers behind the curiosity is also I'm not patient.
Right. Okay.
And if somebody is taking too long to do something, I go and do it myself. It's a horrible habit. But I think that is like, okay, I need to wait now until somebody does it. I can't do that. It's killing me.
Let me do it.
Let me do it, right? Let me do it. So I think that's one of the things around. And for everybody, I think just if you look at it and it's scary, then you should try it.
Oh, I like that.
I think then... of course, I'm not encouraging anybody to do some hazardous things with their lives or bodies or whatever. But if there is something which you feel you can't do it, that calls your name. It tells, try it. If you say it's not for me, this is calling your name. Just give it a try. Read something about it, test it, experiment. And if you don't like it, at least you know what is on the other side.
that mindset, oh my goodness, you've encouraged me so much now. I'm like, yeah, maybe I should do this and this. Yeah. But it's great because it's served you so well in your career, your personal life as well. We'll go into that a bit more. But how you have been able to tackle fear and look at fear as well, I think is the biggest thing, because that's what stops a lot of people from moving forward.
Yeah, I think that I don't like change. I think before we start, no, I don't like change. I'm yet, I don't like it.
Right.
But because I don't like it, I tackle it, right? The same way we spoke that I'm a closeted introvert, right? And
which I'd never get.
I hate networking events. I mean, it's just like, it's the worst thing for me, right? Really, it's like if you want to punish me, put me in the middle. Yeah, do that.
And I'm sure you're having to do a lot of it though.
Yeah, but I'm trying to avoid it as much as I can. It's horrible. It's such an expectation of people today that everybody should be extroverted. The
so
society is
true.
like that, right?
Yes.
And despite the fact I really don't like it and it gives me anxiety, from time to time I do it, right? And with fear, I think it's I fear to be obsolete, right? There is now, we have these two new expressions. One, it's FOMO, which I'm living in constantly, right? Fear of missing out. And there is FOBO, fear of being obsolete, right? And I think that that's something which is on back of my head all the time, right? So I think as a person, you need to identify what is it, what gives you these chills of fear, because that's the best, like an ignition to change something, right? And try something new. So going from, I mean, when I worked in sustainability, I knew nothing about sustainability, and I was just asked, okay, can you manage that part of the business? I said, okay, but I know nothing about it. So I said, okay, let me learn. So I learned, and then I decided to do 1 year at MIT for Chief Sustainability Officer, and I did that. And now I'm not doing anything. Actually, I'm doing some AI stuff in the sustainability, but it's, you can also try and then just drop it.
That's true.
You don't need to stuck. There's nothing wrong to say it's not my cup of tea. And I think that's another fear which I don't have.
Yes.
If I don't like something, I just drop it. I don't do it. Maybe it's connected with that I'm not patient as well. I think that's a bad combination. But definitely, I think fear is something which is my superpower. It's in a positive sense, because I'm, you fear so many things, and I talked about it on my TEDx, and obviously I don't want to repeat that, but we have so many different fears in us, right? We have fear of aging, we have fear on being obsolete from our knowledge, we have fear of not being good mothers, we have fear of not being good partners, not being good role models, not being good cooks, not being whatever. We fear so many things. So how can you turn it around and say, so what do I do about it?
Yes.
How do I improve? Or how do I just say, I don't care. This thing I don't need.
I love that. And I think that impatience is actually serving you well, because a lot of people hold on to things that they should not necessarily be in or need to be in for the fear of, it looks like I've failed,
But it's also on a personal level, right? So I have a 14-year-old son, and he's has a lot of my traits, I would say.
Good.
And a lot of my husbands and a lot of men. But he now is 14, turning on 15. And he decided about a week ago that he now doesn't need me and he can do everything by himself, right? Which, I mean, my kids cook since they were 5 and they know how to do a lot of things.
Well done.
And I said, okay, let's do it. So he's obviously now wakes up, he makes his own breakfast, prepares his lunch. Once in a while, he does, I need to buy him chicken and things. He does his own tortillas, puts it into a freezer. He cleans his room. He actually did his laundry. 2 days ago, was it yesterday? He ironed a whole box of clothes. So he really is.
I love.
And I am itching to do it.
You
right?
want to do it for him.
I want to go and secretly to do some stuff, right? And it's so difficult, right? And he does it on his own time. And he says, my husband is South African but Indian, so he does always the not to worry, says,
what's the big deal?
So he's making fun of me. But I think that the patience and impatience on your personal life and on your in your work is the same. And I think I'm not easiest person to work with, because if I want something, I want it now. And you really need to learn how to manage my expectations, and I think that I'm much more mellow, but when I think about myself, like 20, I mean, I worked for 32 years. I think I was quite a terror, you know. I mean,
that self-evaluation is
I don't think I
interesting.
would like to work. I think I bring a lot of energy and I can rile people up. But you know, I think that if you don't do something and I don't like it, I would be really brutal. I mean, I mean, you improve with age, right? It's like with wine, you get better. And I feel also culturally, I think, you know, it was acceptable in many times, you know, just to let
be quite clear and
be quite clear, right? Which today it's like you have to do a waltz, you know, dance around everybody.
Script and then get to the point.
Yeah, exactly.
It's different.
And that's, I think, big challenge for me too.
Yeah, but I love the kind of self-awareness though. And I think as you evolve, you learn that, right? Because as you adapt in your business or your personal life, or as your children grow, there's different elements that you have to also bring into the dynamic of parenting.
And it's business partners. So I have two, I have a couple of ventures, and I have in one, I have two partners, and in another one, I have another partner. And they have great strength, right? And I'm so impatient now. So I have to actually train myself to then say, okay, you have to wait. You have to wait till tomorrow.
And it's okay.
Yes, and I'm waiting now. It is torture, right? It is torture. But I know that I cannot do these things alone, right?
Oh,
I cannot. But it is, I'm torturing myself every single day. So it's that training of, you know, but again, I fear that I need that support, you know, and I need these people in my life, and they make it better, and they make, you know, the business better. But it's really a tough cookie.
But at least, you know, it outweighs as well. And I think you're aware of, you know, where you need to kind of work on things to kind of move into this new season that you're in. And I definitely want to talk about your pivot, essentially, and your new chapter.
Yes.
So, calling it a chapter. So I know you like to read a lot, and audiobooks do count. Still reading. Thank you. So if you were to look at your own life now and you're reading your own book, what chapter do you think you'll be in? Let's start with personally.
Okay, I love this question, right? So I was thinking about it so hard. So, you know, I think that personally, if I would describe the chapter, right, it's a very romantic kind of, you know, great like time in the book where you're just enjoying like a view in an ocean, let's say, you know, just sitting somewhere enjoying. But there are often big storms because I have two teenagers, right? So there's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde coming, right? So that's so I think personally I'm a really great chapter right now. I still need to learn how to manage teenage kids,
boys.
Hopefully I will learn it before they become adults. And so that and you know, I have an incredible husband who is like you know, a fabulous partner and supporter and biggest fan of mine. And so that's a really good one. I think that's a really good space. I think that there is part in the person where you have these storms in the chapter. Also, you know, where I think being over 50, going through menopause. So that's you know, there are storms inside, but it's going well. Professionally, I am thinking about some book or some movie which I could describe it to, because it's very wild. You know, it's like I wouldn't say chaos, but it's one thing happening after another, and I don't know. You know, I am all over the place. You know, and Matrix. Matrix.
Oh, you're in the Matrix.
I am in a Matrix.
Wow,
yes, I am in a
Matrix.
So I'm in a Matrix, and there are so many doors, and I'm completely freaking out. Which door to keep open and go in and focus on it, and then which to close and maybe open it in 6 months, and what to do, and how do I allocate my time. So I'm in that, you know, when Neo, obviously the main character is Matrix, he is in that with the door with a gentleman who holds the keys, and there are so many. I'm in that. That's like, it seems calm, but it's like there are storms everywhere. Exciting, scary, and there are dragons behind or flowers behind. There is like, you know, you don't know what you open. So that's where I'm now. That's a really crazy book. I'm not sure if it will sell, but it's a crazy
my
one.
heart is beating. I'm like, it is exciting, but then it's a bit like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's my professional book now.
Thank you for talking me through that. If I can touch on the personal, if you don't mind. So because obviously the thing with Let's Talk With Me is I get to speak to amazing people like you, very accomplished, doing great things. But I like to learn more about that personal side because we're all human, right? So you're talking about your age and menopause. And so would you like to unpack a bit more about what that journey has looked like for you? Because I feel like menopause is something, when I went through divorce, it was like, oh my goodness, she's talking about divorce. She's saying the word out loud. I feel like menopause as well is still probably not talked about that often.
No, definitely. And it's great that you talked about, your divorce on your episode. It's really brave. I'm on husband number 3, so my husband calls me I'm a 3 feather, right? And I'm not ashamed to talk about it because I think it's shaped me who I am, and it's really important that we learn from all of these experiences. It's super critical because you come out stronger.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things which I always say is, when you go through these things, and sometimes it's obviously very traumatic, right? I was lucky I didn't have that, right? Or there was some drama, but if I compare it to the time, it was okay.
Yeah.
With menopause, I wish I was more informed.
Yeah.
I have to say that, I went through a time where I had a lot of depression and anxiety and obviously went for counseling.
Yeah.
When I look at it today with the knowledge I have, I think that the therapist should have asked me, number 1, go and do a blood test. Understand what your level of estrogen and progesterone is, right? What are you eating? How are you exercising?
Yeah.
So, maybe eliminate the sugar so that the mitochondria in your brain stops being impacted, so you don't go into these depressions and so on. So and you can be in perimenopause for very, very long time. Right. I think that now looking back, I probably think I was in perimenopause maybe from 42 till maybe 50
without
or something.
Having that awareness that you were in it.
I didn't, because you
don't hear about.
No,
these
you
things.
don't hear, and then you only hear about menopause, but you don't hear about perimenopause, where your body is fully functioning, everything is good. You don't feel that there is physically anything wrong, but maybe we do mammograms and so because we worried about cancer, but until I actually got into menopause, I actually never did a blood test for hormonal levels.
Yeah, you're right.
And
no
I was
one really tells you or pushes you to do that.
No,
I believe.
Yeah, they say, maybe, and when people start say take magnesium and things like that, but there is so much of science behind it, and I think that a lot of your testosterone goes down, so your libido goes down. There are so many things which are impacted in that area, and I think it's so underrepresented and it's not talked about. I think it's very critical that women actually do talk about it, and that I don't think that there is a podcast on menopause.
I don't think, not that I've seen.
Yes, exactly. There's a couple of chapters where people are talking about it, but I think physically it's a massive change for us, but biggest, I feel, it's not only physical, it's mental. And that mental, of course, if you need to then, go and take some tablets, which will lift you up and, mellow you down, that's okay. But what are the causes? Is it a trauma, or is it because you are perimenopausal and because you're menopausal? And actually the world is okay, but you are completely hormonally disbalanced, right? So I think that and I think that I'm sorry for myself that I didn't know, because I went through you don't want to wake up and just every day pop Zoloft into your mouth just to function through the day, right? Because you wake up and you don't want to go anywhere, and I would go and put the blanket over my head and didn't want to go and was hiding.
Gosh, that's tough. That's tough.
And many of my friends going through the same thing. It's not uncommon, right? And we need to speak about it. And I think that the one is your mind, and second is your body, right? I think that there is very little education about how women over 40 needs to move from cardio to weightlifting. I think that's really, really critical because we lose so much of muscle. Our body started to change. We need to work, for osteoporosis. We need to, and that shift, of course, things like yoga and are really amazing, and people run, but as you get older, you really need to switch to start to build the muscle mass. It is so critical because as you get older, you want to go and have a nice dinner. If you don't have the muscles, you probably need to eat so much. If you have enough muscles, you can have a big steak because the body needs it. And so I think that there is a lot of things which people don't talk about. I think it's a real shame. I mean, there is a lot of movements now. I mean, Halle Berry just launched hair.
Yes, I saw that.
Gwyneth Paltrow was doing a lot of in Goop as well, talking about obviously things like that. But I think women generally, if you have problems, go and research it.
It's so important.
Find a doctor. And, you know, it's, I said, I wish I knew before. I think it would have not, it wouldn't have costing me so many times. And when I look at it back as well, you know, I'm thinking, you know, I'm quite lucky that my husband stayed with me.
Wow, because it has so much impact on your
really,
whole
I think that, you know, it's because you go through so much of sadness, you know, and I had to sit down my kids. I said, you know, because Mommy, you're so emotional, you start to cry all the time. So I said them, I said, do you know what menopause is?
Wow.
So I told them what menopause is. I told them, you know, what do you take? So that they know. I said, I'm not sad because you're doing something wrong. I'm not sad because we're not happy. I'm just sad because it just happens to me. It's just like, you know, and you need to understand why. And there is nothing to do with you, and you need to be patient with me. And it's really important that women also talk to their kids about it. And they, you know, explain to them. Same way like you explain to your daughter or son, you know, when they go through puberty around, you know, certain things, you need to tell them where you are perimenopausal, you need to tell them when I'm menopausal, and you should explain them to them that you're not shouting at them, but it's just like you're getting crazy because, you know, your levels are like, crazy, you know?
It's true. It impacts the household.
And also I had a, you know, funny episode with my gynecologist because I had to stop the hormone replacement therapy because I had some issues. And then everything went fine, and I was able to go back on it, right? Okay. Which is obviously, manages your estrogen and progesterone levels. I stood up, I said, Dr. Janetta, can I hug you?
Wow.
I said, I'm so happy. I will gel it today again, you know? Because it is such a difference. It lifts such a heaviness of your shoulder. It makes your family more happy. So that's such a critical piece, and I'm now looking forward to the coming years because I'm, you know, so I will be 52 in June, and you know, it will be awesome because now I know what's wrong.
You have the awareness, your family understand it as well,
and then if something really happens and you are here, then it's like double the impact, right?
Correct. Thank you for sharing that as well, because this is the first time, like even pre-menopause, a friend of mine was talking about it. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, because I've only heard menopause. And I was okay, well, there's so much to it. There's so much to it.
Yeah, it is amazing.
It's great.
And I mean, there are books and there are, you know, publications, there's research. But I think we as women, we have one big down, or at least majority of women. There are some outliers. We never put ourselves first. And I stopped doing it. If I want to go out with my friend, now I do. In the past, I would say, maybe I should stay home. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe, and I'm not doing that anymore. You know, of course, I'm not like selfish, right? But I think that we always think, are the kids okay? Is the husband okay? Did we do everything in the house? Did we organize the school? So you have like a whole list, which you need to go every single day. And you are on the bottom. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I think I told you in the prep, I went through a hypnotherapy, right? And which was an incredible experience. I mean, we can talk about it if you want to, but the outcome of the hypnotherapy was that I have now a picture of a 9-year-old myself next to my computer, and I give myself a kiss every morning.
I love.
And say, you good.
I love that.
I got your back. So I think that we as women need to start to move up the ladder.
So true.
And say, we as human, ourselves, we shouldn't be last. We should be the first. Because if you take care of your physical, mental health, and you know you're strong, everything else falls into pieces. And you know, I can see the change in my household. It's, you know, we generally, you know, we laugh and we're happy. But now it's like on steroids. It's amazing. I mean, I'm not taking steroids. I just take the hormonal replacement therapy. But it's amazing. It's incredible. Yeah. So
it's so true. I mean, even in my journey, I'm a solo parent. So there's so many reasons why I can be like, I'm not going to do this for myself. I can't do this for myself. My son, everything, you know. But I had to stop that. I had to stop that because I needed to put myself first. I needed Zayn to see me also thriving and living in purpose and doing all the great things. And our house is so peaceful and he's so happy. So I quickly had to rewire that because, it can be a weight. It can be a weight for us that we have to carry.
Exactly. And I think that, as friends, we should remind each other. And I don't think we do it often. When we see a friend drowning, we should say, you know what? I want to lift you up. You don't think about yourself,
So true. I've been lucky that I've had those voices. They're like, Sharon, you need to live. Your son is good. You're fine. Enjoy yourself. And it's just that reinforcement because you feel guilty. So I've been so lucky with that as well. So let's go to the Matrix chapter because I have seen, when we last spoke, you were in the corporate environment, MasterCard, and now you are an entrepreneur, a founder, doing great things as well. So tell me a bit more about AndreaNow, the Brain Gym, all of the new stuff, the chapter that you're in now.
So I was in a corporate world for 32 years.
Wow.
It's really scary, right? I mean, you do the math, right? It's just and across my entire life, I always came up with ideas. You should see my office. I have like posters everywhere, and I have just ideas up and down and notebooks with it. And my last boss was always saying, because I always would come to him and give him something ideas.
New.
And I was like an insurance agent. He would throw me out of a door. I would come back through the window, and then I would go into another door. He would throw me out.
Love it.
And he always said, Andrea, you really need to start your own business, right? His name is Gowring, and he always said you have to start your own business.
That encouragement, though.
No, he was saying this is not a space for you. He was very open. But of course, you have kids, you have school fees, you have mortgages. So it's on your back of your hand. You have an excuse for not doing
it. There's always an excuse.
And now I'm in it, and it is metrics, roller coaster, scary, and but it's amazing. I feel my mind is so elevated. I have a fear that I don't know which how many things I can do because I would like now to be like Mr. Smith in Matrix, where I can like clone myself. Unfortunately, the agentic AI is not yet not there yet, but that I'm definitely a potential customer. And so I do multiple things. So that AndreaNow, it's really built around my persona, right? Despite the fact that I don't like networking, I love public speaking.
I can sense,
I really love to, I super enjoy and always did to standing on the stage, talk to people on the stage, share knowledge and be the storyteller or run trainings. And I really like that. So obviously in that space of AndreaNow, I do keynotes, I do masterclasses. I started to write a book. I found a publisher now, which I'm really excited.
Amazing.
Yeah, I call it Andrea Data's Kitchen.
Ooh.
So I use the analogy how you cook things. And you have your ingredients, your tools, and the approach is how you cook, and I transfer it into data.
Love.
And then I take different sectors and then unpack it. So that's what my AndreaNow.
That's really cool.
And you should see my calendar. It's like a massacre. So I have 15-minute slots where I need to do some things. And I don't stick to it every day, but I'm trying to remind myself.
Good.
Then the Brain Gym, obviously with my partners, Doha and Sabine, this is a venture where we doing capacity building in C-suites.
Yes.
Around artificial intelligence. That's where we focus the first place. But there are almost like two sides to it, right? So one is that there's a lot of trainings out there.
Yeah.
There's no shortage for paid trainings, paid education, free training.
Correct.
And there are some incredible people who are spectacular. But of course, the guys who are on the top, or the ladies, sorry, I shouldn't discriminate being women. So such a habit. They don't sometimes have time.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to admit they don't know.
That's it.
It's very hard to then say, I want to do a training. And so they would never, do it on LinkedIn and so on. So, we come into your house and we would not say, who did we train?
Yes.
We would not post any pictures. We would not, you have a complete privacy.
Love.
And we are infusing it with longevity, which is a slightly interesting part because, people want to train the brain,
Yes, yep.
but what we say, you need to train your mind and your body,
So
right?
true.
So it's like, so, you know, if it's breath work, if it is
Yeah.
ice baths, if it is, you know, some approaches from biohacking,
Love it.
red light therapy and so on. So then, you know, if a customer wants that part as well, and we are
Yeah.
obviously trying to influence, we bring our trainers and everybody in, and but, you know, it's very small, it's very intimate.
It seems bespoke, which is
it's very
fantastic.
bespoke. Yeah. I don't want to compare. There are people who are much smarter, much better than me, who doing incredible things already today. I don't want to compete with that, you know. But I think that where I'm really good is in these small environments and doing it really practical. I want you to leave with something where you really learn something.
I love that.
So that's the Brain Gym, and the last venture, which I'm starting with one partner as well, where we are looking at building some agentic AI solutions, and then I'm having 2 other things.
Gosh,
it's crazy. And we could be here like for
while
hours.
you're in the matrix. Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
So, and that's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Because you know, it's so hard for me to focus.
Yeah.
It's like
It's too many,
it's
so
too many moving
different
parts, but
things.
I love it. I thrive in it. You
I
know,
can tell.
I hate. I don't know if you. I made a post about it. I listened to a TEDx of a lady which calls herself multi-potentialite.
Okay.
I never heard that expression
No,
ever before
yeah.
in my life. And she starts the talk really in a funny way, but she said, you know, when we are small, we always asked, what do you want to be when you grow
Yes,
up, right?
yeah.
Which I think it's a really terrifying question, because how should you know?
How would you know?
Plus, you will live till, I don't know, 100, 120
Yeah.
with a biotech, maybe longer, right? So I started as a waitress, became a teller, headed a branch. Look at me
There's
now.
so many,
Many
yeah,
things, right?
yeah.
Worked in Web3 or whatever. So she said that, and there is actually official term for it, and it's called multi-potentialites. And these are people which are interested into multiple different subjects and can go deep in subjects and then jump to other subjects.
Wow.
And they're obviously really great in comparison, in combination
Yes.
with the deep specialist and so on, right? And I was thinking, oh my God, how did I not know?
That's you.
How did I only discover it, you know, in such a late stage? Because, you know, at the office, they would always say, Andrea, you need to focus on one thing. And I can't. It makes me super unhappy.
Yes.
I feel like I'm not, you know,
Yep.
I'm not like tapping into the creative. So I love that expression. I'm sure that many people feel that they thrive in doing many things at the same time, learning constantly new stuff.
Yes.
These are the multi-potentialites people. And so it's a really great TEDx actually to listen to.
I'm going to listen to that for sure.
Yeah, so it's too many things.
So I'll ask you one last question, and we're thinking about the future, because I can tell you're always thinking about what's next. But I'll do it more of a personal touch. So you have 2 great teenage boys, and as they're looking at their mother, Andrea, now, what is it that you hope that they build for their future as well?
I hope it's a really interesting time in my life that you ask me. I'm sure if I would have answered very differently maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
I hope for them that they will put themselves first in terms of their physical and mental health. Number one.
I love that.
I think that, you know, my kids are smart, and I'm sure they will experiment, they will be successful, they will fail, they will do many different things, right? I am not worried about that because they have a really great base. I mean, with me, and my husband is absolutely phenomenal. So I don't worry about that.
Good.
I think, you know, they have a very good base. They're very curious.
Good.
My older son wants to be astrophysicist. The younger son wants to be a chef.
Wow.
Maybe they will end up doing completely something else. I actually don't care.
You don't,
But I want them to look at everything as an opportunity, right? And that's what I do. And they see me that I explore everything. So I want them to learn that, and I think they do, and that they know that the most important thing is they need to be happy and healthy in here and in here.
I love.
Because once you're in control over your mind and your body, you can achieve absolutely everything you want. Because ultimately, you know, if it's in the focus, the hard work, it all comes from here.
Yes.
If we are disbalanced and you know, it's in our minds. So maybe, you know, a little bit not traditional answer, you know, I don't. Traditionally, you know, I would maybe say, oh, you want to go to a great university, do this. They will go to great places. I know it. They are hardworking, they funny, they curious, and, you know, but I want them to ensure that they don't get, okay, I found now the right thing to say. They don't get swallowed by the pressure of peers and social media.
So true.
Right?
Yep.
Because I think it's really, really hard to maintain who you are. You know, there is this quote in Dr. Seuss, which is, I think I put it in my signature, and my colleagues, when I left, they put it on my t-shirt, which is called why to fit in when you were born to stand out.
Oh, I saw that on your, yeah.
And I'm a big believer that we are all here on this planet to stand out. And I want for my kids to be proud to stand out and not to comply with anything anybody is saying, because they need to be happy. And if it means, you know, running with pink hair or, you know, whatever, do it. But I hope that that's my hope for them. You know, and of course, I hope that when they will be married, they will not forget me.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the only, obviously, as a selfish mother is...
Remember all the great things I've done for you.
Exactly. You know, is to say that, you know, that will be, I think, a next chapter in my life, which will be a super interesting challenge. I have the risk that we will lose the relationship and they will come to see me once a year and we will have very little to talk about, or obviously, which I don't think so, because our household is so loud, but that they will do the switch with me. So that I think but they will be great. You
sound fantastic. And they've got great parents, so they're going to be great. Thank you so much. Honestly, I've enjoyed this conversation. So there's so much to it where I'm like, wow. And, you know, like, fantastic. What you're doing and the season that you're in now, it just sounds so exciting. I'm so excited for you as well. So I can't wait to see more of it.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I am, you know, thrilled. My head is buzzing. And thank you for these incredible questions. What I really enjoyed, Sharon, is that, you know, I go to many podcasts and people are always asking you about your job and it's like running down your LinkedIn profile over and all over again, right? And I'm always thinking, why would then people listen to me again? Because if I rehearse the same thing, there's nothing new. That you brought up this personal side into the table. I think makes this podcast super special.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being willing to share. That's what makes it valuable. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk DXB. Real conversations by real people.